lovely wife who's,
I was making faces at you until the camera popped on.
yeah, you don't even know when the camera pops on because I'm controlling the camera over here. So what are you making faces about?
I was just making faces and then it popped on.
Oh, how do you see that? Because I'm not wearing my glasses. Hold on, hold on. Maybe you saw them this way. Oh, yeah. All right, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Man versus Marriage. Again, I am the Q Dog, and this beautiful woman on the screen is my lovely wife, Jeannie Moran. Jeannie, say what's up to the people.
You should not be wearing those.
I love these glasses.
I know you love those
My
glasses,
daughter bought me these
but now the
glasses.
computer is in your face, and you're right. You kind of look like an alien. You need to
I
take them
do.
off. And you got fly eyes. Take them off.
Okay, I'll take them off, but go ahead and say what's up to the people.
What's up to the peoples?
That's right. Thanks for being here, everybody. Today, we are talking about number 4 on the top 5 pieces of advice that Jeannie and I would give you when it comes to marriage. Whether you are a newlywed, you're getting ready to get married, a newlywed, or you are going to start your marriage over again. And so we've gone through 1, 2, and 3. Now, if you have not heard those, please get back into the podcast. Listen to the initial episode that has to do with our overview on this, and then go listen to episode 1, episode 2, and episode 3 so that you get an idea of where we're going with this. I think episode 1 was very enlightening because it starts off with, would your spouse intentionally hurt you? I think that's something that we have to know in order to build the proper trust with our husband or wife. That is imperative. So it goes on from there, and then we talk about communication and what that looks like, and we give you like 5 different aspects of communication and how you can work on those areas to improve your relationship. And then number 3 is sexpectations, which we've done many podcasts when it comes to all of these topics. And the sexpectations, we had a whole series on sexpectations and talking sex, and then we did 2 really hard-hitting episodes, no pun intended, called Who Decides When We Have Sex? And it's a discussion centered around access versus initiation, which I think is going to go down in history as one of our best episodes as we continue to flesh that out again, no pun intended. But if it's your first time here, the program, know that you can contact Jeannie and myself directly via email, Quincy at mvsmpodcast.com. That's MVSM, like Man versus Marriage. So go and check that out. And then know that we have some swag. I don't know what to call this. We have gear. We have clothing. We have apparel. We got some t-shirts that you can wear out into the public, and they will be thought-provoking. And those are at quincymoran.com/apparel, where you can get the legacy brand. That's right. Man versus Marriage, the podcast. It's a very cool shirt. You can look at the Family Famous line, all available at quincymoran.com. The notorious Hustle Mania, right here, the Q Dog. And then for those of us who are endeavoring to be the best version of ourselves, it is the Not Born Ready, Built Ready. That's where you rely on the confidence you've built, that you are ready for whatever comes your way, and you have the right intention and you have the right motivation in your heart to get that taken care of. So here we are with this particular episode. And just so you know who Jeannie and I are, we're working on 25 years married. We have 8 kids, adult children now, ranging from 17 to 23 years old. We have a set of triplets. We have a set of twins. 1 boy in the mix, 7 girls. So obviously the girls win by a wide margin. And we have autism. Our 3 oldest children are on the autism spectrum to a varying degree. And we have faced significant adversity in our relationship and in our lives as we've been married. And it got to the point in our life where after about 10 years, we were roommates because of what life had to offer us. This was before we understood the saying by Ed Milet, thanks to Coach Rita, that life is happening for you. It's not happening to you. So to help you step out of that victim mindset really become empowered and start to live an empowered life with intention, and like redefine what your existence is going to be on this planet and the impact that you're going to make. And so Jeannie and I got, um, we reinvested in our relationship with Coach Rita, and we took that. Oh Lord, you're going to start chewing ice. It's going to get bad on us.
Nice.
Okay. Freeze me. Um,
Your 12-year-old is showing again.
Very true. Um, we reinvested in our marriage because we kind of came to a point, not kind of, we came to the point where we were in survival mode. It was very difficult. And for those of you that are brand new, it came in an onslaught of just a little less than a decade. And when we went to a marriage seminar, we figured out, like, when you get a chance to take a step back and look at your life and your relationships and what is happening, you really get some awareness. It can be sobering, to say the least. And Jeannie and I thought so differently about where our relationship was. And so we decided to take some coaching for our relationship. And, thanks be to God for Coach Rita. She was someone who helped mentor us in the right direction. And that's where we started this podcast, because we are firm believers that if we can make it, anybody can make it. So with that being said, that's, if you connect with anything there on the podcast, if you want to have a more meaningful relationship, you want to have a greater impact in your home, you want to have more sex with your spouse, you want to have greater sex with your spouse, you want to be a better husband, you want to be a better father, you want to be a better friend, you want to be a better professional, and those things are not happening, or maybe you're not consistent across the board, you're in the right place, and we thank you for being here. And today we're going to talk about what it looks like to create house rules and values for your home. And I think this is something that we truly didn't do until we moved to the J3 house, because I don't know, I guess I could roll it back a little bit from there, because I used to always have meetings with the kids, and we would talk and we would discuss things, but we didn't figure out some of these newer situations, or we didn't look ahead as much as we could have to truly establish what the house rules were. We kind of waited until there was a big issue, and then we kind of built it around there until we started to get more proactive. So I think it's, in my opinion, it's vitally important for you to establish what your house rules are.
Well, you do have to kind of wait for some of the things until they happen. I mean, we had a general idea, but our kids were homeschooled for a while, and with autism and different things, we came up against stuff that we weren't planning on. We didn't know anything about, so we had to do a lot of audibles, parenting wise. So don't think that you have to have all of your rules in place from the get go. It's a situation by situation kind of thing, I think, as we go.
Well, that's why I say it's to start to establish them.
Yeah.
Because the beauty that you have listening to this program, and let me tell you this, if you are about to get married, or you're newly married and your family hasn't begun yet, or let's say you're trying to restart your marriage, or let's say you're getting married again because your marriage ended in divorce and you're putting a new family together, what we can do is give you things to look at for your house rules, which effectively builds the culture of your home. And what that allows you to do is it allows you the opportunity, as the kids grow up and they get older and they start to get towards their streak of insanity. I mean, become teenagers and move towards that adulthood. Those years of being an adult, it allows you to rest easy in a sense, because when they come to you and say, well, this isn't fair, I want to do this, you can look at the rules of the home that you've established, and it's basically what you would call your core values of your home. And you can say, this is what we're going to abide by. We're going to abide by what we've agreed on. These are the house rules. This is the standard by which we live. And you do that, number one, you have to do that as a husband and as a wife. You guys have to live what the standard is. What do you say about that?
Agreed.
Oh, my Lord. She's yawning again. Oh, my goodness. Come on. Are you not entertained?
I sat down.
Oh, honey. Okay, well, we're gonna invest the money in getting one of those standing desks. How about that? I think
Sure.
those things are like $1,200. So I take that back.
mean,
I take that back. I take it back. Roll the tape. Back. Cut. Split. Splice. Get it out of here.
mm,
So here's a very interesting way that I came up with the house rules, and it was through a bitter struggle with autism. Um, autism in my life, at least with my son and I, um, a lot of times is like it can feel like a mirror of all your failures because, and that's heavy to say, and I'm sorry to say it, but I'm not, because the whatever has happened between my son and I, it's been years of everything he's disappointed about is my fault. And maybe, in some strange sense, I can understand that because, just being candid, when things don't go my way or used to when things wouldn't go my way, I would blame God. I'm not saying that I'm God. I'm saying as a father figure, he sees that and he's like, it's your fault I can't do these things. And so it started when he was very, very young and my in-laws moved to Idaho and he wanted to move to Idaho. And I said, no, you can't move there with your Grammy and Papa. You are going to live with us. And that started, I don't know, 10 or about a 10-year struggle of every time he got disappointed, he would go off the rails at me. So what I sought to do was to rediscipline his mind and talk about the things that we were going to do and fill him over and over again. And so we developed these 10 keys to a great life. And from 10 keys to a great life, it kind of established what the basis of our house rules were. At one point, we had this stuff written down. Um, Even when we were starting the school year, I would have, things written down on the wall so people could see them and they would know. But it starts out, with follow the rules and instructions. And, you know, as Americans, we don't always like to follow the rules. That's why our forefathers told the redcoats to take a freaking hike because we were about freedom and liberty. But for him, and to a degree for your children, it's important that you build a certain level of structure so that they understand and they have some boundaries and parameters to operate in. They know who is in charge at the home, not that they don't have any freedom, but they know where authority is.
mm,
And there is a gross neglect in society for understanding the value of authority, and it should be restored, so that people are sensible and courteous and kind to one another. But that's another discussion. So number one is follow the rules and follow the instructions because it was important for him because this guy would take off. He would, at like 5 years old out in Alabama, he disappeared in a Walmart. He doesn't run that fast, but he was gone. And at one point he thought it was a game because I could hear him laughing
mhm.
as he was running away. So there are a certain sense of rules and instructions that come along with, you're remembering that now, aren't you? With being in a home and a family. And number two, it can be very difficult, but number two is have a good attitude. Because if you are focused in life consistently on the things you don't have, you are missing out on all of the good things you do have. And I think all too often we get tunnel vision on what we don't have instead of taking a step back and saying, "My gosh, I'm grateful for what I have in my life." Because there are so many good things. If you don't take the time to focus on them, it doesn't mean that we're not disappointed. It doesn't mean that we wouldn't have hoped that things would turn out better. I'm on yawn patrol. And that stuff gets contagious. Don't make me yawn on my own show.
That's why I was holding my mouth shut.
It's like this. Try not to yawn. If you're on the audio version only, it's about 15 minutes and 50 seconds in. You will see that that awesome version I just
Stop
did
it.
of trying to stop people
I
from
cannot
yawning.
help it, y'all. It's been a very, very busy couple of weeks, and I'm trying to change my schedule to nighttime, and it's not working because half my schedule has to be during the daytime. So I'm tired. But you were saying number 3.
Number 3 is to be kind to everybody. Be kind to everyone. Effectively show people respect in your life. Be kind and be courteous. And that was derived because Hunter's the oldest, and he's supposed to be, the older brother, and somehow he knows he's supposed to be an example for his sisters. But a lot of times in life, and it can be the same in marriage, and if I'm talking too much, I need you to interject here, but it can be the same in marriage, that we tend to hurt the people the most that are closest to us and love us and do things for us.
Well, that one kind of came back around too when we had all the COVID crap because people, for one, Hunter and Kiki don't understand when you're wearing a mask. For some people don't realize that for Hunter and Kirsten, the way their autism works, if you're wearing a mask or you're wearing gloves, you're not a person they want in their vicinity because that generally means you are a dentist with some tools or a doctor who's coming to poke at them.
Yeah.
The way that Hunter's autism works is it runs a script of memory on repeat. And so one of the things that helped with coming out of that was reminding him to be kind. So, people got grumpy, they didn't smile, they didn't wave, Hunter is the hi, I'm Hunter to everybody. And so we just kind of reiterated often, if a baby waves at you, wave back. Because a lot of people won't, which is the dumbest thing. It's a baby. Wave at the baby. But that was one of the things that was kind of noticeable. His struggle is more with the family and people in close vicinity. And I think a lot of that just stems because he's with them all the time and we help him all the time. And it frustrates him that we have to help him.
Well, he has 7 sisters and 6 of them mother him all the time. And that can be a challenge.
Yeah.
Well, if you don't step back like I do, or have the ability to, and say, it's actually pretty awesome to have so many people that love you and care about you. But he's a young man. He wants to be a freaking man. You know
But
what I
the
mean?
beauty of it too is when he sees people, like he'll wave at somebody and they won't wave back and he'll ask, why don't they say hi? And you can tell him, well, sometimes people are in a grumpy mood. Sometimes they're not happy. He will still turn right back around and be like, hi, I'm Hunter. And he'll come up and shake your hand because he wants you to be happy. So
Yeah, it'll be like this. If you ever meet us in person and Hunter's with us, he'll put his hand out and shake your hand. Hi, I'm Hunter Wayne Moran.
Bud
Bubba is my dad. He's from Alabama. Nick Saban. My dad's from Alabama. Nick Saban. And that's what you are going to get.
But it's just one of those things that I think over the long run, it helps. I mean, our girls, I can't tell you how many times I have had teachers and other adults come up and say, I absolutely adore your girls. How they're so sweet. I had somebody who had this going on, and your daughter was quick to run over and help. And, she's real quick to jump in if something needs to be done, or if they see somebody because we've had autism in the house, our girls are we call it our radar. We just know. You kind of recognize the people that are like you.
Yeah.
And our girls are real quick to jump in when they see somebody struggling or if they need something. So it's one of those things that it's a very simple rule, but it goes a long, long way for, being respectful to people and teachers. My kids can't stand. Girls cannot stand when they see people being disrespectful to adults. It frustrates the crap out of them, which for me is a good sign because that means we did good. They understand the lines.
Yeah. Well, and then number 4, if you know what's right, it's real simple. If you know what's right,
Do it.
do it. That's it.
That is probably the most said rule in this house. The most repeated when one of the kids does something, even you and me, we do something and it's like, well, I didn't know. No, what's right? what was right in the situation, and they will look right at you if you know what's right, and they will answer it back, and in that moment you're caught. There's just no out.
Yeah.
You already know. You should have done this, you should have done that. You already knew. There's no backing away from it. It is your accountability line right there.
Yeah, and I've emphasized, and I do my absolute best to live my life like everybody's watching. Like there's a video camera following me around. I try to live my life in that way because I want to do what's right. And what that causes you to do is even when you're not when nobody is around, it causes you to say, what is the right thing to do? And then
Mm.
at that point, you have a decision to make.
What would Quincy do?
No, that's not what that's,
I'm thinking of the conversation in the truck.
yeah.
I remind me, we have a friend who was going through some things, and that was one of the things that he told Quincy is, I have to remind myself, what would Quincy do? What would be the right thing in the situation? Where would Quincy go on this? And I thought it was great because he's not even part of the family, but he understands the concept of, if you know what's right, do what's right, because that's ultimately what Quincy would do.
Yeah, and I told him, I said, Quincy would probably screw it up and then use it as a lesson to
Right?
teach everybody else.
Podcast.
But that's important to me. And it's really what you do when no one's looking that reveals your true character. And the fact is that you yourself, you can change your character because you may be slanted to do something in a particular way, but all it takes is a decision. The next time you come across that, making the right decision. So you can redefine your character and then start to live it on a case by case or a decision by decision basis. So I'm really big on, if you know what's right, do it. That's so very important. Number 5, work hard every single
Yay.
day. If you ever see any Facebook Live videos, and I did that with Hunter, which I'm starting to do again because it was like a wretched time. We moved to Texas, completely changed everything for Hunter, everything that he knew, him and Kiki both.
It was,
It was tough. Like
yeah.
couldn't even get on the camera, and we still struggle bitterly now. But there is something to working hard every day. But this is the heart of the philosophy. Whatever you're doing, do it all the way. So if you're working, work hard all the way. If you're family hard all the way. If you're making love to your wife, do it all the way. If it's vacation time or you're relaxing, do it all the way. Whatever it is, be present to the moment and do it. And that's a place where I struggle. Vacation time. It's hard for me to let work go. It's just a fact. Your attention can be spread. Sometimes the phone can be distracting. Whatever you're doing, work hard at it every day and do it. And that's what I've taught Hunter is to work hard every single day. And then number 6 is get better. Improve yourself. Be better than you were yesterday. So get better, improve yourself every single day. And it's these types of rules that we started to put into place, and we would start to recite them to ourselves, and it quickly became our house rules and our family values. So number 7, be thankful. Have an attitude of gratitude. And that's hard because Hunter is slanted and focused on all the things that he does not have.
But how many people are? I mean, how often do you catch yourself saying, I don't have the money for, and then you struggle because you need something and your mindset is, I don't have. Okay, well, you don't have the money to go on this big vacation, but your mortgage is paid every month. I get wanting to do things, but I also think it's important to be thankful for what you do have, what you do possess, the things that you can do. We there's an ongoing topic that pops up every now and then, and it's a hard example, but we've had some conversations, and one of our girls at one point was like, well, Hunter and Kiki get everything because they got their own room, they got their TVs, they got their games, they got their whatever. And it's like, yeah, they do. Those are all great things, but they can't wipe their own rear end. They can't cook their own food. He can't make a sandwich. You have to walk him through the process of every single thing that we can all do for ourselves and take for granted. Kirsten can't do any of those things.
Yeah.
And so being able to point out, you might think that because someone else has the TV, the space, the car, the whatever, that they have more than you and you're pissed about it and you're envious of it, but they might not be happy in it. They might not have a good marriage. They might not have a boss that appreciates them. They might have, you don't know. So when I compare it for the kids, like Kirsten can't, I mean, she barely feeds herself with a spoon and a fork. She's still a finger feeder for the most part. You guys can do that. You can go to the stove and make a grilled cheese if you want one. She can't even do that much. She can't even put something in the microwave and cook it. So it's a harsh reality, and it's a hard lesson to teach them, but don't take stuff for granted.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate what you can and can't, because I mean, look at your parents and my parents at the age that they're in. My dad used to be able to work on cars and rebuild them from the ground up. Now he can barely sit outside and, buff some stuff out for 30 minutes, and he's tired. He's exhausted. He doesn't have the energy. His heart can't keep up. Be grateful for what you have.
Absolutely. And it's one of those things that the more you're focused on the negative issues in your
I
life,
have a sneeze. Sorry.
that's all right. The more you're focused on your disappointments, the more that you reinforce those
Yeah,
in your mind
the
and in
more
your
you
life.
get.
That it's true, because you magnify what you focus on.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not to say there's no real disappointments in life, because there are, but your brain and your mind are a very, very powerful tool.
Dude, it's like the Tesla. The Tesla story that Ed Milet always tells. He wanted a Tesla. So he never really paid attention to him, didn't really catch him on the road, never really noticed. And then he wanted one. So he put out the order, I want to get a Tesla, find me this, and this. And after that moment, every time he got on the road, he saw Teslas. It was just like constant and in his face. It's the same thing, good or bad. If you focus on it, it's going to continue to show up.
Yeah, it's your RAS system. So there are tools that you can use. Not that you're going to be in la la land, but the more you start your day, end your day, and the more you reflect on the things you're grateful for, you will start to notice after time you get more of those things.
Mm-hmm.
Because you, as a human being, your brain magnifies what you focus on. And so it's very important. Number 8 is I care. And what do you care about? I care about my family and I care about my life. Basically, I care about those people who are around me. So I'm going to treat those people appropriately. Do you care about them or not?
Mm-hmm.
Number 9, pretty simple. No whining or complaining. And that doesn't mean you can't vent about crap, but no whining, no complaining. A vent session is something where you're blowing off steam and it's done. But whining is incessant, consistent, and it's very annoying. It's annoying. And
I was just thinking that.
it's dumb.
Constant reminder. You're being annoying, dude. Stop.
And we can't get caught. I hope you have somebody in your life, if you do this, I hope you have someone in your life that loves you enough that tells you to sack up and stop swimming in this pool of self-pity, because it will get you nowhere. The water just gets deeper and you need to get out of it. And you need to look at yourself in the mirror and say, you have what you have because of the choices you've made in your life. Life is unfair to us all. Everybody. Doesn't matter your gender, doesn't matter your financial status, doesn't matter your skin color. Life is unfair at some point or another to us all. And you are a product of your choices. Quincy, how do you know that? I'm a product of that. Our marriage could have been a statistic.
Could have.
Could have been.
Hell, they thought it would be after we had triplets.
Yeah.
We were already, the day that the triplets were born, it was an automatic, well, only 50% of marriages who have multiples stay married. Awesome. Thank you. And then you add autism to it. Well, only 60% of the marriages with autism end up in divorce. Great.
Here's what, yeah, I'm
those
like,
those just keep getting. I was like, the margin is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And then we had twins, and we're like, oh look, there's another 50. Like, what? What do you want me to do with that?
well, here's what we did with it. We focused on what we could do as opposed to what we couldn't do.
We locked into our non-negotiable. We have one very hard non-negotiable rule from day one. We agreed. Divorce is not an option. Whatever it is, we're going to figure it out because divorce is not an option. The second part of that is no cheating. Period. Deal breaker. We can't guarantee we can come back from that. Outside of that, divorce is not an option. And we stuck to that. We stuck to it. That was the one rule that this situation sucks and I don't like this conversation and I really don't like you in the moment. But I made a promise that we were going to figure this out.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't just fall in love with somebody. I chose to love you. I chose to have you in my life. So we worked at it.
Well, that's a great segue for number 10. And we didn't plan that. So good on you. Number 10 is live, love, and forgive. What? On purpose. That's it. And that's really the foundational piece of it all. And
the whole thing really is just accountability. It's holding yourself accountable to the things that are important, to the things that are essential to your life being what you want it to be.
And the fact is that when it comes to, these house rules, and as you develop your own or take our 10 and make them your own or whatever it is, this is how it's kind of the constitution of how you govern your home. And then the values that you create, those start to come a little later as you get into new experiences. And so I made a few notes. So you definitely want to have alignment in your house rules as far as mom and dad, husband and wife, when it comes to dating, when it comes to phones, when it comes to social media, when it comes to sex talks, the culture of your home, faith, forgiveness, honesty, integrity, etc. That's what when you establish house rules and you don't allow them to be unspoken, but you speak them, you live them, and you hold your family accountable to them. You build a culture within your home that the people that are in the home, there's a greater chance that they're going to go out into society and they're going to further that healthy culture.
The biggest key in it, though, is if you are not living by those values, if you are not the example, you cannot tell the people in your house, these are our core values and these are our rules and these are the standards that you're going to live by, because you're going to get a big fat bullshit.
And you should.
and you should. But we've seen it multiple times in people who come to us with a situation. It's like, well, I can't get my wife to stand firm with me on this, that, or the other. It's like, well, because you're not living that. You're asking someone to do as I say, but not as I do. That doesn't work when you're supposed to be the authority or the leadership. If you and your wife are not congruent together on how you want to raise your kids, we weren't congruent. We had an argument over dresses versus pants because of some stupid belief system that Quincy grew up with, and I didn't agree with it. Now, when he met me, I wasn't a dress girl. I wore dresses, but I was a jeans and sweatpants person. I've always been that person. But when it came time to start discussing children, and if we had girls, oh, no, they're going to wear dresses because this, and this. And it's like, that's not how I roll. It doesn't work for me because my grandmother tried to enforce that on me big time. And my mom stepped back from it and said, no, this is not the rule. This doesn't matter. Dress or no dress. God sees you for who you are. That's how I grew up.
Yeah.
And it took a really hard conversation, but when we got to that point, when it came time for the girls to choose, I mean, perfect example. Mo was always the skirts, the tutus, the brighter the colors, the bigger the personality for this kid.
Mm-hmm.
She hit 12 and all of a sudden we were in jeans and black t-shirts. And we went, whoa, complete 360. But she started to discover who she was, what she liked, who she wanted to be, and it wasn't anything that we did. We just let her do her thing, but there were boundaries. There were still set rules on you can wear jeans and t-shirts, but the t-shirt has to cover your belly. You can wear, your shorts or whatever, but your butt has to be covered. Those kind of things are just basic conversations that we've had over the years.
Yeah, like you're not going to wear stretch pants or stretch shorts outside of the house. Jeannie's a grown woman, but my daughters, no, because I know guys.
The the
That
only
is
exception to the rule is because when they're in sports, they have to wear it with their uniform. However, the girls maintain dad's rule of if you have to wear it, you must cover your rear. And that's what the coach, thank God, was on our side with that one when we got here. And she's been really good about, other than track. Track, we haven't quite gotten that one fixed yet. But we've managed to raise our girls in a way where they maintain those same rules. They buck a little bit as they get older,
what they're
but
going to.
yeah, but they also understand the rules apply to this point, and at that point you're old enough to make your own choices.
Mm-hmm.
But this is why those rules are in place.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been a good thing for them to see that other people who don't necessarily have the same standards or rules and situations that arise, problems that come up. It's like that's what we're trying to teach you
Yep.
is I don't want you to fall under that umbrella just because of an appearance
Yeah.
or a what's the word? Uh what's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know.
Because it's popular or what other people
Oh, the
expect.
trend or the fad.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not they don't have to be that. But you're going to run into conversations that are going to have to be had along the way. Your religious preferences, what are you going to teach them? How are you going to teach them?
Mm-hmm.
Are we going to go to a church? You need to find something that you both agree on, and if you don't agree, then you need to come to terms with, like our situation now. Quincy goes with the girls. I don't go. I stay home. I have Kiki here and I hang here. But if it's something that you don't agree on, it needs to be, especially if you're in the beginning stages of marriage, these are the things you need to talk about before they come up and you have to make a decision, because it doesn't mean it's a deal breaker, but it needs to be a conversation.
Yeah, you definitely want to get into the stage of negotiation. For me, I was not much into negotiating off of my modesty policy, and somehow we aligned because when I met you, I guess I wanted you to be anything but modest because I liked what I was looking at. I did have to become a hypocrite when I became a dad of daughters and say,
Well, there's a difference. When you met me, I was 19 years old.
that's a fair point. Thank you.
When raising daughters, our 18-year-olds, now that they have jobs, they purchase their own clothing, they can make their own choices. There is still one of those, when you're in the house, this needs to be covered because your father doesn't want to look at it. Your brother doesn't need to look at it. When you leave the house, if you want to show that, that's on you. But understand the consequences that come with such decisions will be based on this was your choice. So
Yeah.
whatever comes of it is your own situation. But we held the rule.
Yeah, of course. I have
I was
to.
19 when you met me, though. There's a difference. I was purchasing my own clothes. I had my own job. It was a little different.
I never really thought about that until you brought that to light this moment. So I'm less of a hypocrite than I expected to be on
But
that
you were
particular
once
role.
a teenage boy looking at
Yes, I
teenage
was.
girls, and you have teenage girls who are very blessed, and they are very pretty, and they are a lot to look at, and young boys do often.
Well, it's obvious why they would, but at the same token, modesty is the policy for me.
Yeah.
And that was not negotiable for me to a degree. Now you and I kind of went back and forth on some things, but overall, I think, and who knows what happens when they leave the house. If they follow the house rules and they remain modest, if they didn't and they did their own thing, which happens, then they just got to school and they did what they were going to do. And everybody was a good team and kept it quiet and didn't sell each other out, which is a respectable to a degree.
We won't find out until they are much older and we
Fair
hear those
point.
conversations, because my mom just learned some stuff about me and my sister.
I bet.
And We're in our 40s and 50s. So, ta-da.
Listen, another one of the house rules or the values is that we are putting our kids to work. We are going to be the one to build the work ethic in our children. One of the biggest reasons is, and it may have been an unhealthy thing at the time. No, actually, I thank God that my dad made me work. Like, he worked me.
We didn't have a choice with our kids. We are too many to expect me to do everything for
No,
everybody.
that's not fair. We had a choice, and you could have done it, or I could have done it. Whatever, we had a choice, and the choice was that we're going to do this as a family. But my choice was to make sure that I built a work ethic, because not everybody comes with one. And I had spent time managing people, and I did, like, as far as my children, I wanted them to come with a work ethic, learn about teamwork, learn about the value of hard work and what that can get you in life if you're willing to do it.
Mhm.
And so we established an entire chore system and an accountability system where they were accountable to each other, and a standard. And it gets, the older they get, there's a point where it gets easier. And then the older they get, there's a point where it gets more and more difficult, because now the majority of the stuff, the older they get, before, as they're going to move out, start to shift back to us to do. But, and then, outside of that, if you're not giving your kids chores to do and you guys are doing them all, I'm going to be bold enough to say you are doing a disservice to society. That's a pretty strong statement. If you disagree, send me a letter.
No, it's accurate, because if you don't teach them to take care of their things, to take care of themselves, to respect the things that you've worked so hard to give them, then they're not going to respect anybody else's. I mean, you send them to school and they're not going to care that the computer they were given is not theirs. They're going to do what they want with it. And if it breaks, oh well. And you know why it's oh well? Because mom's going to pay for it to replace it. It ain't off. It's no skin off their neck. It's off of us, because we just keep giving. You just keep covering for them. If they don't learn the lesson themselves, I mean, we had one who broke a TV and she had to earn back the money. It was our money. We had to pay for it. But there were some chores that needed to be done. There was some garage stuff that needed to be clean. I mean, we picked the stuff that normally we would do as a family, as a whole, and everybody would do their part. Nah, you broke the TV. That job right there is worth this much money and this much time off of your grounding. Have at it.
Yeah, there's
It's
a
it's
certain,
it's a consequence thing, because if you don't teach them now, they don't get it. When they're adults, they're the idiots that we're screaming at on the street.
yeah, and the fact is that not all your kids are likely going to take it with them just because of a maturity issue, but
Mhm.
it's planted in there. And the older they get and the more they grow and the more experience they have, they will have something to return home to in their mind, to say, okay, well, this is how mom and dad did it. Because, like we talked about earlier in the podcast, you don't do what they say, you do what you see.
Mhm.
And so we've had to live that, not to 100% perfection. I'm not even making that claim, but in working to establish that, um, teaching and building a work ethic inside of your children is crucial, and it helps them. And the reason it helps them is because when you move outside of your home, life can become difficult. And so you must build a sense of resiliency. You must teach them about being resilient, and you must teach them how to manage disappointment. And I don't know that that gets done enough in society. So you have adults who act like petulant children and don't know how to treat one another. And so that's why part of, the family chores and the deep clean and the daily stuff that we did, that's why I taught them by making them the one in charge. They would have to elect a chore checker. They'd have to take responsibility for whoever did or did not complete it. If it wasn't done to what we set as a standard, they were responsible to do it again, not the person who did it, because they signed off on it. And so what that translates into thus far is the girls who have gotten jobs and stick with it, the majority of them tend to get promoted more quickly
Hmm.
because they have a work
Or
ethic,
offered more hours, or they're asked to do more because they're trusted to do more.
and that is built at home. Now, that doesn't mean when they leave, they have it all. Some things we don't really truly learn until experience has some time with us in the ring and beats the crap out of
Well,
us.
you have to teach them to earn things. I mean, we had rules for learning to drive. You had to have good grades, you had to have a good attitude, you had to help at home, and you had to do your chores. That was that. Those were the four rules. And then when the time came for you to drive, you were going to help with the finances of it, with your insurance. So be it. Whatever we had to come up with, you were going to help with fuel, you were going to help with insurance. You had to come up with a way to pitch in, because I'm not just going to give you a car and let you go do your thing.
No,
And we're not in a position, nor did we want to be, where we're just going to suck the bill for whatever you want to do. This is an earned privilege.
it is a
And
privilege.
we've had older kids who didn't get it, younger kids got it sooner. But the fact was, this one got in trouble often, didn't want to do schoolwork, didn't keep up. The attitude was not always there. Well, the attitude was there, it just wasn't the one that we wanted. The helping out with the family, things like that. There were four rules. These are the four things. And one didn't make it. And then two more didn't make it. And then three others came up and said, I got these grades. I don't get in trouble. I do my chores. I help babysit. I've got all these things, are, good attitude. We get good reports from other people about how they're behaving.
Yep.
And it was, okay, you have earned the right to go learn to drive. Now, we still held on to, it doesn't necessarily mean you're getting your license yet, or that you're just going to get a car and drive, but you can learn. And while in the process of learning, you still have to maintain these four things. If these
Correct.
four things slide, you no longer drive.
Yeah, and
It was just, it was great, because the ones that took it to heart earned it. And when they earned it, and the first one was able to get a job and save her money, and now she's got her own vehicle, the pride in that for her,
mhm.
and what it took for her to get there, and being able to deck out her own car and do her, she is extremely proud of herself and the work ethic that it took to get there, and she still maintains it. That's huge.
Yeah, and truthfully, here's a little pro tip. Not that I'm a pro, but uh, I feel like I'm a bit of a pro because I've been a parent for over 20 years. There's a lot of hours in that. Um, a pro tip would be this: is that it takes some of the pressure off of you when you have house rules and a well-established culture,
Hmm.
because now you take the actions by someone and you compare them to the standard, and it's the standard that judges whether they pass or they fail.
Well, and they've grown with that standard. So they've known that standard for 16 years. Okay. Have you grown up in this process, and have you met the standard going through everything that we've done? There's always been anything that they've wanted to do, sports, prom, anything. There has always been we will meet you at this point. You're going to meet us at this point. These are the things you're responsible for. These are the things that I'm responsible for.
Mhm.
It does not mean that I'm just going to grant you these things. You're going to do your end. And when you meet your end, I will meet mine. And giving them that, I think, has helped them understand more how life is outside the home when they get to their job, and they really, some of them are complaining because they can't get trained on this, or they're not getting enough hours, or not getting that. And it's like, okay, so we run through the standard. Are you doing this?
Mhm.
Are you doing this? Are you doing this? And if they can honestly look at it and say, yes, I am, okay, then you need to sit down with your boss and you need to ask some questions, because you can prove
Mhm.
X, Y, and Z. So what am I missing to help me get to this point?
Right.
But we're teaching them how to process through that so that they can ask the right questions to get what it is they're trying to get. Now, if they look at it and we say, are you doing this? Are you doing this? Are you doing this? And they go, well, I'm doing these two, but I'm not doing this one. Okay, well, there's your hang up.
Right.
You've got to get that third one in there, because it's earned. People don't just give you stuff in life. You have to earn it. You have to prove that what they're going to give you is going to be maintained and taken care of.
That's right. And you may be asking yourself, well, how the heck do I put all this together? I'll tell you how I did it. First of all, I talked to you about how I went through, creating the 10 rules, 10 keys to a great life. And then how did I present this to the family? Number one is I had to make sure that I was living each one by integrity, because I can't preach to you what I'm not walking out.
Mhm.
I can, but let me say this, I won't. I don't claim perfection, but that is my intention, is to walk each of these things out. The second thing I did was I established family meetings. And so they were a very captivated audience for
We've done
me.
that from a very young age.
I would sit
Very
them
young
all
age.
down and I would start to kind of evangelize them in the culture of family.
We used to set them down every day. Quincy would come home and he would set them down, and they had to sit and be quiet for 5 minutes. Do nothing, be bored for 5 minutes, because they had to learn you have to wait. We did things like family dinners, and it was nobody ate until everybody came to the table. We did chores as a group. It wasn't just, this is your chore, go do it. We sat down, we talked about the chores, who's doing what, and we dispersed in group. When they were little, they were in groups of 2. When they got bigger, they can do things by themselves. When it was something that was really big, like a garage or yard work, we all did it as a team and we buddied up. We taught them in increments throughout the day different things. We taught them what it meant to just sit on the couch and talk and goof around and play. Playing was a big one.
Mm-hmm.
You would think that they're kids, they should play, but they don't. Unless you actively engage in imaginative play with a child, they don't get it. Just watching the TV and watching Dora does not teach them to imagine. It teaches them to follow the pattern. We live with autism. You'll figure that out real fast. But we had to teach them how to play, how to tickle, how to joke around and be acceptable in joking around and not crossing lines. It's all
Yeah, when they were young, it was like rough and tumble play.
it
They
yeah.
learned that with dad.
It was,
Very valuable.
but it was also from the time they were small, giving them the floor and letting them talk at the table, and everybody got to say whatever
Yep.
they wanted to say, and we listened.
Yep.
And then we talked back, because as we built that, they learned growing up, even in the hard talks and even in the conversations they don't want to talk to us about, they eventually come around to talk to us and say, okay, I tried to work through this. We give them the tools to try to work through things on their own, because they need that too. But we also created a platform for them where they could come in and say, Mom, I got to talk about this. Or,
Yeah.
Dad, let's go get a coffee. And we know now, like, that's their buzzwords. Can you and I go get a coffee?
Yeah.
Just you and me. Okay. I've got one. I want to go to Hobby Lobby. Okay. You would think they just want to go shopping. No, that's a me and her moment. And it's, let's just go. And I want to drive and I want to talk and I just want to air out. Okay, cool. You create those things from these standards and these family talks and these situations around the dinner table. Dinner table is probably the biggest one for us.
Yeah, and with us being a family of so many, I wanted the kids to have an opportunity to speak and, just to get their voice heard, to tell what was great about their day, what's the best thing that happened to you today. And you can use something different each time, and then you'll get a chance to tell your story at the table. But the other side of that is you will start to hear what it is they're going through outside of the home and in society. And then you can use your family talks, which are separate from family dinner, to evangelize your core values, to evangelize how to treat people, to use you talk about the 10 keys to a great life or whatever it is that you have. And you'll start to shape some of those talks based on what your children are facing in life. So you can create a story based on that and then teach them. And of course, when they're young, the story is a certain way. And the older they get, the story sort of evolves. But this is how I used it. I wanted to hear the things they had to say at the dinner table. I wanted them to have their moment. I wanted them to tell about their day. And I think they very much looked forward to that, to have the attention of 8 or 9 other people, because Kirsten doesn't always give people her attention, but to be able to speak openly like that and to feel like they had a voice in the family. Um, and then using the family talks as a part to do that, and the faith talks. I would incorporate some of that together when we would do Bible studies together or things of that nature. So that all went to build the culture in our home. And then you want to talk, as we start to wrap it up, you want to talk about the traditions that you want in your family, the traditions that you want to build, that are, centered around the holidays, like a Christmas, like Easter, like Thanksgiving, like the 4th of July, or whatever holidays, you have in your country. Though those are things that we sought to make traditions over. And Jeannie took the lead on that, because we had some traditions in my family, but it was more split time. So there was nothing consistent with me and how we did it. I really love that when it turns fall, they get excited about decorating the house with fall stuff. To me, that's not something that I would do, but they get excited to
They
do it.
start in as soon as the back to school stuff hits the stores. Joe and Anise are like, "Can we pull the boxes out? Are we ready yet? Can we?" It's like, no, we don't decorate for fall until the very first football game, which it has to be college football game, just to be clear. Very first football game, then we can decorate. And they get so mad because the very first game is always the end of August or the first week of September. It's like, that's so far away. But they get excited when we homeschooled. It was something that I every month we changed the decoration in the house. We changed the classroom. We did stuff
Mhm.
to, one, encourage learning because it changed their environment, and two, it helped them look forward to things because they got to help me with it. So now it's just something that, I mean, they're already bugging me that the day after Halloween we want to put up our Christmas stuff. I was like, no, we still have fall. We're not done with fall. We got to put Halloween away, have fall, and then Christmas. So they've built. Now they're building their own traditions. They want to have a friendsgiving. They want to have a night with just their friends and bring. They want to do the Charlie Brown Thanksgiving as opposed to a big meal, and it's something that I think is important because, one, it keeps you coming back to home.
Mhm.
Everything that I do in our traditions are it's based off of things that I loved as a child. And my family was not always on good standings, but those things, we set everything else aside
Yeah.
for those things. And it was just something that it was very important to me to hang on to. It helps them as they grow up, I think, to build their own culture and their own virtues and their own rules, but it's also they can add on to our traditions because our family's going to get a lot bigger over the years.
Right.
So it's going to take more than just me to maintain a tradition.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. And one of the other traditions that we built on, and we struggled at times to keep going, was the daddy daughter date.
Hmm.
Which is, dad's teaching your daughters what's acceptable and how to be treated on a date. And yes, you should open the door for a the door should be opened for you, young lady, when you're getting into the vehicle. A young man should be opening the door for you to treat you like a lady. The things that we felt were important, I wanted to be the example of how to be treated on a date and what that's supposed to look like, and give our children an opportunity to have some one-on-one. Or we started early on, including mom in the daddy daughter dates, because they
That was the
wanted.
girls doing. That was that the
Yeah.
girls wanted mom to go to so they could have individual time with me and dad.
Yep. And I believe it to be very valuable. And then you also want to, whether it's around when grades are coming out, but in especially during the whatever that COVID crap was, and everybody had to be shut down and be in school, and everybody was doing it at the same time. We started some pretty serious check-ins on, like, what do you need? What are you going through? Here are your grades. How is it going? Is there anything I can do to help you? And those check-ins are invaluable, whether you're doing them once a month or once every couple of months, just trying to get the heartbeat. And it bugged some of the kids. I mean, it bugged them and annoyed them. And, I got my feelings hurt a little bit when I am trying to help you and give you a place to talk and, let you know that I care. And it's like, I don't want to do this. And so, I got butthurt about it
But
a
it
couple times.
but on the flip side of that though too, I think it helped because we use those same conversations for big decisions.
Mhm.
When we decided that we wanted to move to Texas, we sat the kids down and said, "This is what we're thinking. This is what we're looking at. What are your thoughts?" And of course, they didn't want to leave, they don't want to move, they don't want to do this, they don't. And then when we started presenting possibilities for here and what that looked like and
Yeah.
what it could mean for them, ultimately it's our decision. But we still wanted them to put their input in. Okay, well, we know that we're moving. If there's something that you wanted in a move, in a new school, in sports, whatever, what would it be? What could we find that is so important to you that this is the one thing you need to hang on to? What can we do? We did the same thing with college conversations. Do you want to go to college? Some of them do, some of them don't. Okay, cool. What are your plans? What do you want to do? We can't afford to pay for everybody to go to school. So, what are you looking at doing? How can we help put you on the right path, get you into the front of the right people, whatever it is? It opened us up for hard talks. Christmas is going to be tight. We're running low on money this year. So, we need everybody to be on point with you're not going to have as many things under the tree. And that's okay. So, what I need you to do when you make your Christmas list this year is what is absolutely important that you really truly want, and what are maybe 3 or 4 things that you would like to have, but if you don't get them, you're okay. We had to have those conversations even when they were smaller, because if we don't tell them, but they see us struggling and stressing out, they don't know that it's not them that's making us struggle and stress out. It's not their fault. Those are grown-up problems, but they still need to be aware this is where we're at. They don't need to know the specifics, but they do need to know this is why this is happening. If mom and dad are frustrated, it has nothing to do with you. These things are happening. When you see your sister having a seizure, what were you thinking? How did you feel about that? What did you think when mommy had to leave? What did you think when daddy came home and had to stay home and take care of everybody? That's their favorite because they got biscuits every day. But later in life, those are the conversations and the things that come up at the dinner table now on family talks. They go, "Do you remember when we talked about and when we did da 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 da?" And they laugh about it. They joke about it. They go back and forth over these stories and these memories because we built that
Yeah.
coming up to this point. You don't think about it in the moment, but later on down the line, the value of it is irreplaceable to me.
Yeah. And it's up to you as a parent, or as a parenting unit of how transparent you want to be with your family. That's up to you. And I have you mentioned college. I have a very unpopular philosophy on college, and it's pretty simple. From 0 to 18 years old, I'm taking care of you. That is what I signed up for as your parent. But now that you're an adult and you're making adult decisions, if you want to go to college, you are going to pay for it. And that has nothing to do with how absurd the cost of higher education is.
Skin in the game.
But it does have to do with if this is something that you want, then you're going to have to commit to it and you're going to be in on it financially. And mom and I will help you as we are available to help you. But that's my own personal philosophy. I think it is important for me to get you from 0 to 18. And then from 18 on, we have a particular way that we, you know, allow the adults to remain here as long as they follow a particular core set of, rules. And
Mhm.
then we start to learn, um, the balance between freedom and authority. And this is, while you are 18, this is our home. So we still have the authority. You have a different set of freedoms now, but you're going to respect the authority that mom and I carry in the home, or you're going to have to find a new place to call home. And that's not easy. Those are not easy conversations to have, but they're necessary. But
For
that's
the record,
where,
they're all 8 still home, so clearly they've adjusted.
well, it hasn't always been that way, but that's where these 10 keys to a great life comes from. That's where follow the rules and instructions. Well, what are the rules of the instructions? There are 9 other rules and instructions added for these 10 keys that will teach you how to have a great life if you follow them. And that's where it begins. So this is how we've established our house rules and our home, the values within our home. And I encourage you to do the same. If you have some maybe that we didn't talk about, send them on over. We'll discuss them. If it's just to read them and to learn, we can do that. Or if you want me to discuss them over the air, it's not like I'm going to try to shoot holes or poke holes in them, but it's more like, what can I learn from what it is you're doing? But don't have the expectation that perfection is the only thing you're going to accept when it comes to yourself or your family, because perfection is just not attainable. I believe excellence is attainable, and that's what I had to rebrand myself with my family, because I was allowing the fear of things not being perfect to get in the way of my own growth. But I do seek every day to achieve living these 10 keys for a great life. It's the lifestyle that I live, and you're free to say if it's not, even on this podcast, and I won't edit it out, but you say what you really believe, if I live them or not.
Of course you do.
Well, I appreciate that. And I ever endeavor to do so. It's not an easy thing to say if you say it too fast. I ever endeavor. Why don't you try to say I ever endeavor?
Wrap it
No,
up, sir.
you're not going to tell me. What's the rule about you telling me what to do? Rule number 11.
If you know what's right, do it.
Yeah, shut your mouth. We didn't even discuss whatever you do.
No.
Whatever you do,
don't
don't
poop
poop
your
your pants. Oh, man, that's for years and years. I can't wait until I'm in like my 80s or 90s, and I got grandkids, great grandkids, and they're coming in. Whatever you do, don't poop your pants. It's just a funny family thing. Anyway, that's it for this particular episode of Man versus Marriage. Let me encourage you to use the email address quincy@mvsmpodcast.com. Now, listen, we are going to be putting these top 5 best pieces of advice. We're going to be putting them out in written format, digital format. And so when we release them, we're going to have some additional nuggets there. And if you want to make sure that you get those when we release them, then send an email to quincy@mvsmpodcast.com. And that way I can make sure that you are on the mailing list. I'm not going to spam you. I assure you of that, because I cannot stand signing up for something and then getting all these emails that I want nothing to do with. And then they take my email and sell it to another person, and so on and so forth. That's not going to happen here as a result of, signing or sending your email or getting signed up with Man versus Marriage. We're not going to do it. But if you're looking at how you can support the program, how you can support the cause, go to quincymoran.com/apparel. And then you can start to buy some of our gear. When you buy this gear and you wear it out into the streets, people are going to look at you. Number one, because you're an incredible stud, very handsome. You're actually 50% more handsome wearing Man versus Marriage or Quincy Moran gear. I'll write that. That's actually proven, and I will offer you that guarantee in writing. I don't know where you'll be able to use it, but at least you'll have it. So there's the Man versus Marriage podcast T-shirt. There are other things like Not Born Ready, Built Ready, the Family Famous line, which is what you are endeavoring to be. I haven't told you that, but that's what you are becoming as you take charge of your life. And then to really embody what level of work it truly takes, the shirt that's near and dear to my heart is the Notorious Hustle Mania. I'll have to wear that shirt on one of these programs so that you can see it. But go to quincymoran.com/apparel. Go get some of the gear, wear it out and about. And when people ask you what it's all about, give your testimony. Even if it's not perfect, give your testimony, and then you can point them to the show if they are looking for help as well. So with that being said, Jeannie, you got anything left to say?
Nope.
I have no idea what you're doing over there. Your phone's over here, so I don't know what you're distracted by.
I'm doodling.
You're doodling
I'm listening.
at a time like this?
Open your iPad. Tell me you don't doodle.
I'm not doodling while I'm doing this. I was writing notes earlier.
You're talking.
Okay, well, that's good. Thanks for doodling.
Welcome.
Okay, anything you want to say before we go?
No.
Okay, no. That's her final word on the show. For Jeannie Moran, I am Quincy Moran, a.k.a. the Q Dog, and this is Man vs. Marriage, the podcast.